In this presentation, I will talk about the basic concepts in material science. First, a little bit about the elements and the periodic table. Organic compounds originate from the plant and animal kingdom. In organic materials, carbon is always one of the elements. Organic materials has very often a very complex structure. The other materials is the inorganic materials. With a few exceptions, almost all of these does not contain carbon. The metal elements belongs to the inorganic materials. A chemical element cannot be separated by chemical procedure, only by nuclear explosion. Today we know 118 elements, and they are all organized in a periodic table. These elements is the basic of all the materials we use for technical purpose. The most common metallic elements is listed in this table. You see in the first column the name of the metallic element, and in the second column the chemical name. And the chemical name is the name which is used in the periodic table. And here you see the periodic table of the elements. In the vertical direction, you can see the groups, group 1, group 2, up to group 18. And in the horizontal direction, you see the periods, and there are 7 periods in the periodic table. Most of the elements in the periodic table belongs to the metal group. The metals can be recognized by their metallic shine and their good abilities to conduct heat and electric current. Examples on metal is iron, copper, zinc, tin, lead, silver, gold, platinum, mercury, aluminium, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. At room temperature, all the metal is in solid form, except from the mercury, which is in liquid form. And here you see the sodium from the periodic table. You see it is in the group 1 and in the 3rd period. And here you also can see how many shells the sodium has. It has 3 shells with only 2 electrons on the inner shell, and on the second shell it has full with 8 electrons, and in the 3rd shell it has only 1 electron. The nonmetal is the rest of the elements in the periodic table. Some example is carbon, sulfur, and phosphorus. These are all in solid state at room temperature. Bromine is the only nonmetal which is in a liquid state at room temperature. Some nonmetal in gas state is hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and chloride. Compounds can be structured in different ways. We distinguish between mixtures, solutions, chemical compounds, and alloys. First, I will talk about mixtures. A mixture of 2 or more substances. The substances keep their original properties and can often be separated from each other easily. And here you see an example of a mixture of sulfur powder and iron powder. It is difficult to see the difference between the two ingredients with the eyes, but it is no problem to separate the two. With a magnet, the iron powder can easily be drawn out from the mixture, leaving the sulfur on its own. In a solution, it is not possible to separate the ingredients by mechanical means. We have to use chemicals or distillation to separate them. An example of a solution is table salt dissolved in water. Both the water and the salt properties is still in the solution. To separate these two ingredients, we can boil the solution or let the water evaporate slowly. After the water has evaporated, we will have only the salt left. A chemical compound is the strongest way two or more substances can be combined to each other. The chemical compound will have totally new properties than the individual substance it consists of. It is characteristic for a chemical compound that the elements contained in it always occur in a certain mass ratio, which can be calculated with chemical formulas. Water is a chemical formula of the two gases hydrogen and oxygen. The chemical formula for water is H2O, and the mass ratio is 11.1% hydrogen and 88.9% oxygen. We can use the example with a mixture of sulfur powder and iron powder. If we heat up a mixture of equal amount of sulfur powder and iron powder until it becomes glowing, a chemical reaction between the two powders will transform it to a hard lump. If the lump is smashed after it is cooled down, it will not be possible to separate the iron with a magnet like it was when the mixture was powder. The chemical reaction has created sulfur iron with the chemical name FeS. Fe for iron and S for sulfur. An alloy is a melted mixture that contains at least one metal and has the properties of the metal. The elements which is in an alloy is called components, and together these components will make a system. In alloys with one or more substances, it can occur different levels of solubility. In a melted state, the components is normally completely dissolved in each other, but still there is several systems where the solubility is limited. Many of the substances can be dissolved in each other, even in solid form, and we call it a solid solution. We make alloys to improve the properties of the metals included in the alloy. For example, for steel, we can make the alloy AEC316, which is an alloy which withstands corrosion and is a strong metal, and often used, for example, in marine industry. And we also have different alloys of aluminium, different alloys of brass, and so on. But the the main purpose of making alloys is to improve the properties of the material. That was all I had in this presentation. I hope you learned something new and hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me in the next video.